still so glitch. It's still so glitchy. Was I on mute there?
Yeah, you're on mute.
Am I still on mute?
No.
Oh, you're
still
No.
on mute, mate. Yeah.
One of these
you,
weeks. One of these weeks we will get the hang of it. Well, I will. Welcome back to the show, that comic book review show. And this week we are reviewing Killadelphia Volume 1, Sins of the Father. Of course, I'm not by myself. I have to the left. Are you to the left there, Pete?
Yeah, I'll be the left.
Triple J Comics. What you been up to, Pete?
Not so bad, mate. Not so bad. Sorry,
Good.
slightly distracted there as you came on because there's just been a new toy announced. Peter Parker from Into the Across the Spider-Verse.
Huh.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's very, very cool. Very cool.
Peter B. Parker.
Yeah, Peter B. Parker. Excited to be here tonight because this is a tremendous story. So I can't wait to get into this.
Yeah. And you're Robin, you're Batman. We've got James T.
Heyo.
How you doing, mate?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for coming back, mate. Excited to get into this one?
Yeah, absolutely. More than the last book, anyway. So, yeah.
Right.
What was the last one again that you did?
Secret Invasion.
Okay, I'll give you that one. And the man who come up with this book, of course, is my old man, Efren from Past Point Comics. How you doing, mate?
What is going on, Comic Book Familia? We finally picked a book, or that's my choice. So I'm the one.
It is your choice,
yeah. And I think it's a really good read, and we're going to be reviewing the first 6 issues. Correct? That's all I read.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. And of course, we're not a live show without the chat. So we'll have good old StreamYard, best quack, and good old Mr. Dunlop himself, Fuzzy. He's bought 2 books from watching this show. Will you make a threesome? Ooh, saucy.
Threesome with Fuzzy.
What 2 books did you buy, Fuzzy? You gotta let us know. And does that make us influences?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Yeah, that's it. We should have been paid by the publishers.
We need royalties. Yeah.
Got to get in touch with Marvel.
I'm hoping he bought Punisher. I'm hoping he bought Punisher because that's a.
I hope he bought Punisher.
Maybe he's not what do you call it? Noctera.
No. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, Killadelphia, written by Rodney Barnes, art by Jason Sean Alexander. Efren, why don't you give us the synopsis for the book and then report our views?
When this book came out, I can't believe I think it came out in 2019 or 2020. It's been over 2 years this book's come out already. So when it first came out, it just grabbed my attention, the title, when we pre-order books to Killadelphia. And then I read the synopsis, I go, okay, I'm there. So basically it says, when a small town beat cop comes home to bury his murdered father, the revered Philadelphia detective James Sangster Sr., he begins to unravel a mystery that leads him down a path of horrors that will shake his beliefs to the core. The city that was once the symbol of liberty and freedom has fallen prey to corruption, poverty, unemployment, brutality, and vampires. When it's Philadelphia and they said vampires, and we'll talk who the vampires are, I was like, okay, I'm getting this book. I just had a feeling it was going to be a good read. I told Triple G, Peter, about it.
Yeah.
And on it went. It's a really good read. I really like it,
Yeah, I picked this book up because of you and Pete banging on about it so much. I thought, I'll pick up the first volume, read the first volume, and immediately bought the hardcover. So, yeah, definitely worked for me. We'll just go into our quick overviews of the book, and we'll start with Triple J.
Yeah, so I mean, Efren summed it up lovely there. We'll get to the spoilers, I guess, as we'll go through issue by issue. This book for me, I read a lot of horror. I love my horror books. I love my vampire mythology, going all the way back to Buffy the Vampire Slayer and stuff like that.
Yeah,
this has got a very unique take because you can get a bit like zombie movies, I guess. You can get quite samey with vampire stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's very standard. Whereas I think this has got a nice twist to it. Love the artwork. I think the writing's brilliant in it. It just piques my interest, and it's a book that I've continued to read in trade paperback format because as the volumes go on, they introduce other elements of mythology to it and things like that. And Rodney Barnes is just a phenomenal writer. He does a companion book to this. Everyone you have to remind is that the
Nita Ha's Nightmare Blog.
Nightmare blog, which is brilliant as well.
Oh, and it's a companion to Killadelphia,
Yeah,
is it?
they're in the
Yeah,
same
it's kind of
universe.
it's same universe, yeah. And,
Right,
and that's
I'll have
really
to-
kind of graphic and gory, and that I
Yeah.
like that one a lot. So
I'll
yeah,
have to keep a
overall,
copy
overall, I think this is a very strong book. I enjoy it a lot.
Brilliant. Was he saying, yeah, you got Punisher, some Secret
Oh.
Invasion, and Deceased variants. So actually
Oh.
3 times, not 2.
Can't
And
go
he said,
wrong
yeah.
with those deceased variants, can you? Stunning.
We definitely influences. Yay. James, how about yourself? What's your overview, mate?
Yes, I'd heard I just heard the name of this book, really. I didn't know much going in. I knew it was a horror. I assumed there was some kind of a supernatural thing. I was absolutely blown away by this. I thought this is one of the best books I've read in a very long time. I love the story. I loved the kind of social commentary through the vampires. Like, that was, I thought, quite interesting. I thought the characters were really fascinating. Their relationships with each other felt very real. Dialogue was on point. Like, nothing really stood out to me as hokey, unlike some other stuff I've read lately. And yeah, just the absolute thrill. Like, I just couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next. And yeah, I love the art style was incredible. Very kind of like Max Payne noir look to it. So yeah, I adore this book. Absolutely fantastic.
Good stuff.
Fuzzy's just saying he's a sucker for good homage cover.
Yeah, me too.
I think we all are. White Paint, especially.
Yeah. Something epic, Fuzzy. I know you've got a few of those already, but the covers for them are just stunning. I think you picked up the Terminator 2 one recently, didn't you? But yeah, some of them are superb.
When does it end? When does it end?
What is this? Yeah.
Well, my overview for this book is, absolutely love the story, the detective element of it, the police, more or less being more of a book about a father and son relationship. I really, really dug that. The art, outstanding. I have got a few critiques from my first time read, but I'll leave that to the end when we do our scoring. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a fantastic book. Efren, you got an overview for this?
I mean, I love the book. Like I said, when I first seen it for advanced orders, I read the synopsis, Killadelphia, and I go, okay, I'm there. I didn't have to read anymore. I just had a feeling it was going to be a good book. I started looking more and more into the writer, Rodney Barnes. He writes Star Wars for Marvel also. And we mentioned Nita Ha's Nightmare Blog, and he did a one-shot Blackula from the 1970s exploitation film.
Yeah.
Return of the King. I bought that. It was an excellent read. This guy's a really good writer. So, I just really enjoy this book, and I'm glad we do these reviews because I read the stories once, and you normally don't read them again. I went back to read the first 6. I go, God, it's very good, strong beginning arc.
Yeah.
It goes from there, and it gets crazier. And the 6 issues that we're reviewing is just the calm almost before the storm. It gets crazier after that. So we got to come back and review the other ones eventually.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I read the first volume, and obviously I picked up the hardcover. And that's just been sat for a little while. And then when we were going to do the review, I just read it Sunday night again. And it was the readability on this is brilliant. I can go back to this. I can see me reading this at least once a year.
Yeah, it's a good storyline, So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned about the characters as well, because there was some really good characters in this. Normally when you get like a horror story, you get your main vampire and then his underlings, and you don't really find out much about them. But in this, Rodney Barnes just fleshes out the characters so much.
Yeah.
And I think it's an awesome job that he's done on that. So we're just going to go issue by issue like we do normally. We'll start with issue 1. We start with James Sangster Sr. Typing away an email, talking about his dad and how he cannot live up to or fill his dad's shoes, sort of thing. And then we get cut back to Jimmy's dad, Senior, and he's working on a case of missing people. And he's looking for somebody called Seesaw, who we don't really know who Seesaw is at the minute, just that he's connected to all these missing people. And he gets a lead, and he goes to a place called Hell Hall, and that's where he actually meets his demise to these vampires. He does confide in somebody else, a medical technician who works in the morgue at the police department called Josie, and she comes into it a bit more later on. So then you go to Sangster Sr.'s funeral. His son turns up, he finds his dad's diary, and it starts following his dad's case this way. He meets up with Josie, they find the vampires, and as he's reading through his diary, this is where you start getting a link to an actual dead president, and that is the second president of the United States, John Adams. He gets mentioned here. So Junior gets Josie to go see.
Oops, get yourself out, man.
Well, I'm there.
Yeah.
It's disconnected.
Did I just disappear?
Yeah. You're back now.
Yeah.
You're back.
Yeah. Where did I get to there? Oh yeah.
John Adams, our president.
Yeah. The Junior goes and finds a nest of vampires, and then goes and digs his dad up. And one of the best lines in this line got me hooked on this book straight away. When he digs his dad up and he's alive, it's that panel right there, and he says, "What took you so long?"
Yeah.
I thought that was just an hilarious way to end.
One of my
Show.
favorite panels
Yeah.
in a comic book in the last decade. I think that was such
Definitely
a shock, and his eyes just open. It's really haunting, but then the kind of it's juxtaposed with that line.
Yeah.
Just a brilliant way to cap the first issue.
And it's creepy. The yellow eyes and everything. It looks
yeah,
really, really creepy.
Especially the way it's so the color palette is so muted, it's almost in black and white, so that contrasts really well with that as well. But I even find the beginning of this so engaging. The dialogue is sharp, even with Josie, they've kind of funny banter. You could have just had a normal murder mystery, and I would have been down for it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You need the vampires. It's just a really cool addition to it.
Yeah. So absolutely, this mixes up two of my favorite things: horror and crime. Anything to do with crime. If it was just about a serial killer and them tracking a serial killer down, I would have been on board for that. Maybe that's what happens down the road. I don't know, because I haven't read past the first 6 issues. But I hope they carry on the detective part of this book later down the line. But as the first issue goes, that ending absolutely got me. Efren, any thoughts on the first issue?
Something I don't think we talk about that much, but we do. But for this particular book, I really enjoyed the artwork and the coloring. It wasn't, so many bright looking colors like a regular superhero book. These humans look like normal people like you and I, no 6 packs, and voluptuous body, just normal people, which I think it made it better. Reading it. And if his son wasn't a detective, I don't think he would ever would have put the pieces together. Figured out something was wrong, And I love the dynamic. Well, they don't show it in this issue, but in the other issues, the dynamics between the father and the son and what happens throughout the first 6 arcs.
I love the intro, because again, beginning this, I didn't know it was going to be vampires. Of there's the banging on the morgue, the door, the fridge door,
on the fridge
and
door.
he comes and opens it, and there's nothing. I just thought that was so creepy as well.
Pete, anything to add to this one?
No, not really. I think the guys have covered it. I loved the issue. As Efren says, it's the start of the relationship that you kind of see between the father and son, which is one of my big drawn points for this book, to be honest, as it progresses. My only gripe, because I feel I have to have a bit more, my only gripe is, as someone who, I'm not dyslexic, but I do struggle sometimes with reading, I hated the diary pages. I hate that kind of script writing, particularly when it's small. Do you know what I mean?
I forgot about that. I had that,
that
problem.
This was going to be one of my critiques about this book, was the diary pages, the cursive writing.
It takes twice as long to read because you're not quite sure what it's saying, until it cops.
That proper threw me for a loop, and I was like, don't want to continue with this.
I suppose in a way it's necessary. I know, they use kind of color coding to tell you who's talking and things, but to tell you that that's from the journal. But they could have maybe had it a little bit. Just used a different font. So
different font.
rather than.
I get why they used it to show that kind of old, script style kind of thing, but it just is quite challenging sometimes to read, I think.
Yeah,
that nearly made me put the book down, to be fair. It really did, and I pushed on through it, and I'm glad I did.
At least it's an early thing. It's not
it disappears, doesn't it? So
exactly, so that'd have been really annoying if that was throughout.
And then issue 2.
John Adams.
John Adams. We'll get into some of yourself down a bit there, James. We'll get to that bit. So anyway, issue 2, we first get introduced to Seesaw, who Sangria was looking for in issue 1. He goes to visit his dying grandmother, and basically says, I can take the pain away, you can live forever, trying to tell his grandmother, and she's having none of it. Then obviously seeing his back up out of his grave, and he explains more about the links to President John Adams and the vampires. And we get an intro to Brittany, who was a child vampire, but she's 150-year-old.
Yeah.
Then we get introduced to John Adams himself. But there's like a bit of a button heads between him and Seesaw by the end of this issue, just after he gets introduced. John Adams wants to do things one way, and Seesaw's more about letting people have freedom to do what they want, and that was the button of the heads. Anybody want to go first on this issue?
It's just friggin' mental, isn't it? I mean, this is the kind of a thing that, because I remember Efren saying to me, blah, 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 vampire book, good art, Rodney Barnes. I'd never heard him at the time. Yeah, by the way, me and Vampire's second president of the United States. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? You can't do that. What are you on about? But there it is, and it's just such an incredible story hook and twist that I don't think I've ever seen. Yes, we had, what was that awful film? Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. But yeah, I just love this twist. I love this twist. And, as Efren said earlier on, look at that center page. The artwork is, and the use of color is just amazing. So, and I love the characters you've just mentioned. All of them immediately, I kind of thought, I'm going to enjoy this. So, another superb issue.
I'll just give a quick shout out Sensei Domino, one of the guys who rips packs of cards. He does an awesome live stream every Sunday morning about I think it's about 7:30 our time, so not too early. But great guy. Looks a bit like Pedro Pascal if you ever see his face.
Oh, James is in. He's been
on Spine Fix once. He showed his face, and I think, why, Sensei, you look a bit like Pedro. But he's an awesome guy, and
check him out.
Deserves the subs. Efren, issue 2.
I like this issue because they started to mesh out more of the vampire characters, and I noticed some of them are stronger than other ones mentally wise. The father, I mean, he's still he's dead, he's a vampire, but he still has his humanity, a little bit of humanity left in him. And the other character, Seesaw, you said, right? The kid, he has his own way of doing. He has his own. He's a vampire, but he at the same time he seems to care for humans too. And then
he has his grandmother, is it?
Grandmother,
that's right.
And even the little girl that's 150 years old. Later on, we find out she has a sister. And what happens to her? The conflict between them. But like all the other vampires are just like soldiers. They'll follow whatever John Adams says. And John Adams, I mean, as we go on in the future issues of this, I think he's got like a complex, a chip on his shoulder. He just wants to prove that he was better than just being the second president, like almost a forgotten note in history. That's what drives him, to reach his goals. But I really enjoyed it. And I go, and Ronnie Barnes, it makes me think that if John Adams was alive, this is how he would act almost. The personality. I go, God, I wonder how much research Rodney Adams did. Ronnie Barnes, did on the presidents, to see if anything, because it seems I could imagine him being like this, So it's a good story.
Oh, brilliant, James. I know you had a little chuckle when I mentioned Brittany. The standout character?
Yeah, I loved her introduction. The way it's the kind of dirty cop pulling over to her and trying to entice her into the car, and you're like, oh, how's this gonna go? And she gets in, and then she repeats back who he is. I thought that was brilliant. And then later on, you see him like strung up, and all the vampires are around, and he's like begging for his life. That was great as well. Yeah, I think Efren hit an interesting point that like some of the vampires, like just because they're vampires, they don't necessarily lose their like emotions. But Brittany's an example, I think, of someone who does with her kind of upbringing that we learn about later on. I mean, it's another great step in building the world here and the kind of how the vampiric system works. It was like soldiers. I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. Yeah. That thing with Brittany was like the predator and the prey, but who's the predator and who's the prey sort of
exactly.
thing going on there. I really like how it played out. Yeah, absolutely. Just before we go any further, because now we are introduced to John Adams. Efren, I don't really know much about John Adams. Is there any like big standout moments that he had during his presidency?
See, just because I'm from the United States, I have no idea, man.
I'm testing your own.
Oh, I know one thing. He had a son that became president.
John Quincy Adams. Yes,
John Quincy Adams.
It's mentioned in the book as well. Yeah,
it's mentioned in the book too. It almost from like I said, how way Rodney Barnes portrayed him. He almost seems, and they show like him in a show in the theater, and even then, they show the actors putting him down, and that's part of this. I think that's part of his persona. He wants to prove that he's better than just being the second president. And but besides, I don't know much.
You didn't catch what that play was, Efren?
No? We're going to get to that. Simmer down, James. Simmer down. Simmer.
Yep.
You done? Because now we are going into issue 3. And issue 3 we get John Adams' story. He does his presidency. He goes to the Caribbean. For I don't know, it was a Christian work he was doing over there. Him and his wife.
Yeah,
or something like that.
It's missionary kind of stuff.
Missionary. Get took to a village where he gets turned into a vampire and given a book that nobody can translate. Comes back and they all put his illness down to yellow fever, which actually makes a whole lot of sense. Coming from that time period, because medical science wasn't that far advanced. So being in a foreign country where yellow fever is rife, you come back, you're ill, they're going to say, "Well, it's yellow fever." But he does a lot during this time before his death, including trying to stop people making fun of him in a certain play. What's that play, James?
Alexander Hamilton. I was stoked about that sequence, and like I think just as soon as John Adams was introduced into it, when his name was mentioned, I kind of perked up a little bit because being a big fan of that musical, I'm a fan of that time period, and I've read a lot of like research on kind of what the actual story was, watched documentaries and such. So like John Adams is a historical figure I'm fairly familiar with. And in Hamilton, he is like the butt of the joke, kind of a lot of it takes the piss out of him because him and Hamilton were such big rivals, and Hamilton did a lot of putting down. So I thought that was such an interesting perspective to like see what would it's something you think about even watching Hamilton, of like what would these guys actually think if they were watching this. And so we actually got to see that, and I thought that was really really fascinating. But it just adds another element, I think, to the vampire thing. And I know you think, oh, second president becomes a vampire, sounds ridiculous, but it works in here. Like it
absolutely does. It
doesn't come off as goofy because it makes sense that vampires don't age. So this is just a guy who happened to come from that time and do this thing back then. But it deals with his like legacy, how he didn't, he was the second president after George Washington and following in those footsteps, and then lost his first re-election to Thomas Jefferson, I think. It was fascinating. So like I absolutely love that element. I would say this is probably my favorite issue. I just think that he worked really well as a villain. I really liked kind of Abigail's role in it as well. Like she's this weird.
John Adams' wife Abigail gets introduced into
and like they throw orgies. She's like a dominatrix kind of thing. I thought that was really interesting.
That's just to get like the upper class into the ranks.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I thought was like a really good twist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fuzzy's just saying there there's a TV series with Paul Giamatti.
It's very good.
Played John
HBO,
Adams.
I think. Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about John Adams, there you go. If they ever make this into a series now, they've got to put Paul Giamatti into it.
When I read
That would
comics,
be hilarious.
when I read comics, I kind of like cast people to like hear their voices when I'm reading.
Yeah.
And I genuinely thought for a sec, do I throw Giamatti's voice here? And I decided against it.
There's also another vampire that gets introduced into this called Topsy. Who's been with John Adams since the Revolutionary War. So they are building up a lot of characters to go forward with.
Yeah.
Pete, any thoughts on issue 3?
Again, just a very, very strong issue. I love the backstory to it. I love learning a little bit more about the history of it. The introduction of Abigail, without going into spoilers, she's a big player in the series going forward. Yeah, just it's lovely. It's a great, great issue.
Yeah. Efren?
Basically what everybody just said. I mean, I love when they introduced Abigail, the way she looks. I mean, all female vampires always look hot, so they didn't, their thought process, that, he thought, John Adams thought about, I think it was the issue where he thought about, maybe turning some other people back in history, like his son, into a vampire, but he didn't, he had his reasons for that. And just like the progress of the characters, reading a good comic book, unlike if it was like a movie, they don't delve much into the history of these characters, how they became what they are. And that's one good thing about reading comic books, because it just really delves into, and it's got time, to delve into each character, their psychosis, what makes them tick. And, I think this issue just tells you why John Adams is the way he is and what's he doing, what's he trying to prove. He's trying to save America, so to speak, but he's trying to save it his way. And obviously there's going to be opposition, and but once again, it's just how certain vampires have the will not to fall in line, like the father. The man's dead, he's a vampire, but he's still, something of his inner strength makes him saying, hey, I'm not going full, vampire. Even though there's one page where he says something like this to his son, all I see is a bunch of blood right now.
Yeah, I was going to get to that later.
He says something like, I love soup, and all at the moment, all I can see
You look
is
like
you as
tomato soup.
Yes, that was it, yeah.
There's some cracking lines in this book, there really is. But I'll get to that bit later because I had it written down. Sensei's just saying Paul Giamatti is Bart Giamatti's kid, the guy that banned Pete Rose from baseball.
Oh, wow.
If you don't know who Pete Rose is,
I'm with you.
Go back and watch some old boy rumbles between him and Kane. But Pete Rose was a baseball player.
Yeah, he gambled on baseball, and that's a big no-no. Baseball. So they banned him for life. And
I've heard of this. Yeah, I know.
We had a similar. We had a similar thing in football over here. That Bruce Grabler, he was a Liverpool goalkeeper, he was doing bets and got banned. Yeah. As well, back in the 90s.
Big no-no.
Spot for you. We go over your comic book. There you go. So we're going to issue 4 now. This is when the attack starts. The vampires go after the humans, and it's just bloody all-out craziness. Find out the mayor of Philadelphia is in with it as well, in with John Adams and Abigail behind it all. Seesaw comes to an understanding with Sangster Sr. Helps him to feed because obviously the hunger's taking over him now, starting to take over. Josie and Junior get together in this issue, so you get a bit of romance thrown in as well. Any standout bits in this one, Pete, for you?
Yeah, I haven't put the image on, but it's kind of before it all kicks off, I guess. There's a scene where they're standing in the street in daylight, I think, and the panels on the door are red, and from a distance it just looks like red glass. And then the sun's staring at the glass, and then as he looks at it, he sees faces through it, and the glass cracks. Yeah, and it's the vampire and all the blood pouring out. It's just, again, like James is saying, when you start casting things in your head, that scene in a movie would look phenomenal, again, great to see how graphic it gets as well. All the you know, because it's pretty near the knuckle, this issue. There's some heads being ripped off.
Oh,
and,
yes.
you know, just again another very, very cool story.
Yeah. James.
I like seeing Abigail drinking blood out of a wine glass. I thought that was fun.
Classy.
Yeah, I don't know. Just the the color palette for this one stood out to me the most. Like it's primarily blue, and the eyes again contrast really well.
Yeah,
and it's just like balls out destruction. I thought that was fun. It was kind of like, oh shit. It felt like a bit like, oh, they're doing this already, but like not in. It didn't feel rushed, you know.
Yeah,
it's like this kind of big, horrific thing is happening now. Like it's like, oh, well, great, you know.
Yeah, you would have thought they would have left that for like the last issue.
Yeah,
somehow it just fit right here.
Yeah.
And I was just looking at the cover there, and it's obviously like a play on the Patriots marching during the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
So the covers were outstanding. Efren, your thoughts on this issue?
I'm not sure if it was issue 3 or issue 4 when the girl vampire, the young one, but even though she's 150 years old, where she talked to her sister and it didn't go the way she planned.
I think it's the next issue.
I think that's the next issue.
Okay, then I won't talk about it. But I think it was this issue that I mentioned to you. That is this the issue where the reporters were talking to the mayor? That's the next issue too.
Next issue too.
Okay, never mind. I love
this one's mostly people getting killed, primarily, and a little romance subplot as well, which I quite enjoyed. I thought that was
I did as well, man.
Yeah, I liked it.
So I'm just jumping ahead. Sorry, but I like this picture of John Adams just walking through the carnage like it's like this is the way life should be. You know, his life should be like he's in control. You know, like oh my god.
Yeah.
I wonder if they got any kickback to this. You know, I wonder if they got any if Rodney Barnes got any grief from the staunch patriots in America and stuff for the way that, because they have betrayed him pretty poorly. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sure there'd have been some anti-woke people or something, but maybe Ben Shapiro said something about it. Who knows?
Yeah. But you'd never really heard anything like outrightly about it, though, did you? If anybody said anything, it was like
this book doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. So like, it's,
really,
it's. I assume this was like a top tier in terms of like indie books or who's Image Comics.
Image,
Image,
top tier one. But like, I was surprised it didn't even have a. Because I was curious what were the kind of other people saying about it, and I couldn't find much. Like,
because the thing is, it's still ongoing, and I do believe it was nominated for best ongoing series.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it won or not, but it's still ongoing. I'm not sure what issue it's up to.
30 odd, I think. 34, 35.
Yeah. So we'll go straight into issue 5.
Okay. Sorry, I was ahead of myself.
Now, this is the issue where we get the Kolchak reference.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you guys realized it, but once I seen this issue on the second page, this reporter, and they call him Carl. I go, oh my god, I used to watch this show in the 70s. It's Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Yeah,
he's right there in the middle.
I've heard about it.
Yeah,
but I don't know much about it.
I remember watching that. I remember watching that late night Friday nights here in the UK. So I remember the first time reading this. I couldn't remember the guy's name, but I recognized the image straight away. So I straight Googled and found it.
Yeah, so it was a great series. I used to watch it in the 70s as a kid. So the minute I see him, I'm going, oh my God, I know who that is. You know, so I thought that was pretty cool putting him in there.
Yeah, definitely. Fuzzy's just asking, what about Adam's descendants? Would they need to be involved or agree to it?
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I don't know the full detail, and you know, I might be talking cack, but I thought in America it's a bit like prime ministers and stuff. This kind of almost protected from media portrayals and things in some regards. No, particularly negative stuff. Do you know what I mean?
That's the opposite. You're a public figure, you're a historical figure. So that's why Obama and Trump are in this book, and like you can do that because you know,
Don't forget we had a spitting image in the 90s.
Forgot about this out
every
you're right.
Figure.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but could you just put up that slide again with the call check on?
Just watching James deep throat.
Apologies.
Does he explode?
Your Guinness exploding into your face there, James, isn't it?
I didn't mean to derail things. Apologies.
And I was just looking at the other side difference of this actor.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who the actor is, but
Philip
yeah,
Morris.
I could see him. I
Yeah,
could see
the
him
minute I
definitely
seen-
playing.
Yeah. I seen
Yeah.
the father and I go, oh my God, he reminds me of this actor called Philip Morris. And I don't know if you guys ever watched the show Seinfeld.
Yes.
but
Yeah.
I've seen
Kramer,
bits and bobs of it.
yeah, Kramer, that was his lawyer. And that's the actor who played
Right.
him. The guy with the glasses, his
Right.
lawyer wore glasses, you know, and that's the actor. I thought, God, it looks just like him, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Was just saying it must be with something to do with the First Amendment, free speech, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, issue 5, apart from the call check, Night Stalker reference, we find out Seesaw's found out how to use this book, and it's a book of magic. So they're bringing another element into the story, which I thought was absolutely brilliant.
And
Everything
doesn't.
else.
It's like it should be ridiculous. It should be like, oh,
It
that's
should
stupid.
be.
Why are you doing that? But like, it just works. So like, I literally didn't
Yeah.
even second think it like as it went.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, magic. We're doing like proper sorcery and shit. Like,
Yeah.
it was awesome. Like,
The first time
And
really, like,
I guess
okay.
that's the, you know, not to put spoilers in and Efren tell us to shut up, but this book progresses in terms of that. So it's not just a vampire book. So you get demons and monsters and werewolves and all kinds as the stories progress, and it all interlinks.
wow.
It's a very cool series in terms of if you like your monsters and your creature features and things like that.
Oh, definitely. Shit's going to another level in this book.
Can really quick on this page on the bottom right hand side, the daughter, man, when she goes berserk, I love this scene.
Oh yeah.
The last corner one when she rips off the cop's head, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
and the way it's like the response to her sister. Her sister almost has to pull her back, and she just like pulls the opposite direction. Like she's so.
I mean, everybody in the previous issue or this issue, I forgot which one it is, but her sister, who was a vampire, also basically
this one.
Yeah.
Oh, is this one?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, she becomes human.
Yeah.
You know, she just doesn't want to be a vampire anymore, and that's where the conflict. You know, it's just how could you do that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But also like learning that they were slaves as well was like shocking as well. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. And like she has these kind of like, our parents left us and left us, and she's like, they didn't leave us, they were sold. So like to kind of process that. Like I thought that was very interesting as well.
When you think of this book, though, it's got so many layers in just 6 issues. It's unreal. It's amazing how much work Rodney Barnes put into the writing. It really is. But yeah, as you were saying, Brittany goes to see her sister, and we get the backstory about how there were slaves, and we find out that Seesaw has found a way to turn vampires back to human. Obviously, her older sister is human again, and she wants Brittany to become human, and she doesn't take that well. She goes outside, as we can see there, finds a bunch of cops and just decimates them. But yeah, and then we get the panel and a little bit about the Sangrias talking, senior and junior, and we get the tomato soup panels in this issue.
Because you just don't see it coming the way he's like, do you remember when we were
used to watch Bugs Bunny?
Yeah, like I used to have tomato soup because I love tomato soup. You look like tomato soup. Like, oh shit. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Then they actually formulate a plan to get rid of the vampires, and it's just involving flamethrowers. We've got flamethrowers, yeah.
Get as many of them as you can. Burn everybody.
So, Pete, your thoughts on this issue?
Just a bit of a broken record. It's just a great issue. But I think that's the kind of the key point about this series. What, 5 issues in now? Normally you would have had a bit of a dud. Do you know what I mean? You would have had a lull at some point. But it's just banger after banger. You know what I mean? I love the scene with Brittany and her sister. It's just so heartfelt, and then like you say, the fact that she chooses not to become human, she doesn't want that, so she goes and just kills all these cops. Is just superb. Love it, and I'm loving the relationship between the father and the son as well as that progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. Efren, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, we keep on just saying it's a great storyline. It is.
Yeah,
Anybody who hasn't, anybody who's seen this video right now, or you see it on Rewind, please pick up these books. You will not be disappointed if you're into good writing and horror. Even the smaller characters, the ones that are not prominent, like the mayor, you can just feel his swarminess. Like, God, mayor, on my nerves. Yeah. Look at him smiling, like everything's fine. It's like
like the political commentary here, where he's like, all these people are so corrupt. Vote for me for re-election. It's like you already were, like, you're already mayor. You've not done anything about it, but still, and people are cheering. Like it just felt it rung very true, I think, to the real world.
Yeah.
Because that's like basically the mindset of American politics, isn't it? I know their politics is a lot different from ours.
Yeah. Keep America great, that kind of.
Yeah, we over here. I don't know about anybody else, but I vote what's going to benefit me, so I'll go for that party. Over in America, you're either Republican or Democrat. And
I know we don't talk about politics much here, but I'm embarrassed with politics in my country, to be honest with you. If I could live somewhere else, I think I would do it. The politics here are just so back-ass crazy. It's like,
you're not unique, Efren. I think politics in this country as well is gone down the toilet, mate.
It's absolute shambles over here as well, mate.
Yeah.
So.
People just talk about it more because it's more of a cartoon in your country. It's
boring.
Boring in the UK.
It was a pretty good cartoon when we had Boris made. I mean, that was ludicrous. You know what I mean?
Well, that's still going on, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
With Partygate.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's not talk about that, man.
Just a side note, because I just realized this looking at the top right panel. I love that vampires bleed from their eyes. I thought that that's the way that's used in the scene with the sister, where the sister's crying normally and she's crying with the blood. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah. So you keep picking out these little details as we go along, and now I have to go back through the book and look at it again.
No, that's very cool.
And then we get to the final issue 6. Not that's on issue 6. That's issue 6. So Seesaw basically unleashes the power of the book his way. Abigail kills the mayor, which I thought was fitting.
I love that. He gets his comeuppance,
Definitely. And Sangria Senior and Seesaw face off against Adams, and as we can see, Senior stakes Adams. It's quite a little short fight. It's nothing as massive as you think when somebody goes up a bit towards a big bad. You think it's going to be like a couple of pages at least, a few. But this is pretty much short-lived, and anyway, it gets killed. And this is the police start burning the vampire nests. Brittany, Abigail, and Topsy, who we haven't talked about much. I think we mentioned them once. They survive the assault on the vampires, and then we end the issue with a really nice bit between father and son at the graveside.
Yeah,
as they're really digging the hole to put his dad back in, and I thought that was absolutely a wonderful way to end issue 6.
I think that it was poignant that they finally had a relationship, the father and son, as a father and a son, but it took his dad to die for them to have a relationship. I was like, wow, man, that was pretty deep. His father said, I know I messed up, I know I wasn't a good father, and they have a relationship now, but unfortunately my dad's a vampire.
It was a little bit heartfelt, and I'm glad they did that. I'm glad you got that second chance. That was really, really good. James, how about yourself, mate?
Yeah, loved it. I thought it was a fantastic conclusion. I feel like this is a satisfying place to just dip out if you want to. You don't necessarily have to do more. I think it wraps this part of the story perfectly, and there's threads you can continue with, but the plan was thwarted ultimately. And a beautiful ending, I thought, the way he's like, there's one more thing to do, and the coffin pops open. It's like, oh shit, he's going, and I know I was kind of thinking, oh well, people can turn people back to humans, can't they? So is that not an option? But they for whatever reason they didn't. But I think it's a beautiful everything here just clicks together so well, like the horror and the action and the drama and the character moments, like it just all works perfectly. And there's a big magic battle, like that's a thing in this, in this noir vampire thing. There's a magic battle, and it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love this.
But
the
it's
thing about it,
I mean,
not sorry, Efren, go ahead.
I was gonna say, even though it was a good ending, but it's also that's not the end. It's a cliffhanger.
Well, exactly. Like, but if you wanted to leave it here,
yeah,
good. I think that's
it's a good book end.
It's satisfying. I think.
Yes, it is.
Nice end of Act 1, isn't it?
Yes, there you go.
Just a quick hoot to Dr. Von who's joined us. But I think Jimmy Senior he mentions about death, so I think in the comic, so I think that's why he doesn't want to be back to human. He talks about his dead wife and everything, and all stuff.
So hard not to kind of jump in and tell you what happens.
Yeah, they're very.
Shut up, because I'm gonna read this.
Have you read them yet, James? After
I didn't want to go past in case I'd mix up what was where. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to finish reading this book now. Well, that brings us to our favorite issue or page, and since James is our guest tonight, we'll start with you.
I mean, like, I love an Al Hamilton reference. like not even just outside of. I think it just works for the story so well, for that choice of character that you went with John Adams. Like, I thought that was fascinating and really did tie into his motivations of, like, this is how people see me. I'm a laughing stock. Well, I'll show them. I thought that was cool. So, like, as a story moment, that would be it. But I think my favorite, like, actual, like, panel in this was the last panel of issue 1 of the eyes, like, of the dad in the coffin with his eyes open. That was so striking. So that'd be my choice.
Brilliant. Pete.
I love a double page spread, so it's this one.
Who doesn't?
It's a beautiful one.
The one with his dad lying between angels and demons, I just think is stunning, and the text's beautiful as well. It's just really, really nice.
Yeah,
superb.
Brilliant. Efren.
God, there's so many to choose, but one right now that I think about that I'm glad he got his comeuppance was the mayor. When Abigail, told him, you're not part of this world, and she just kills him. And then she says something, I forgot exactly what she said, but you're going to be tortured in hell, for what you did.
Yeah.
And that's a spoiler, just so you know. So
don't tell me that, Efren, because if you'd have not said anything, I wouldn't have known that was a spoiler.
No, okay. Sorry. Peter and I will talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Just before we finish up, what do you think of, like, an adaptation of this? Like, would you like to see a Netflix or a HBO do a version of this?
They would have to do it right and do it justice, wouldn't they?
I think it would work so well. Like, it
would definitely work.
Like a HBO True Detective style.
Yeah.
Vampires. Yeah, I think
that'd be very cool.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The True Detective.
Or hit the nail in the heart.
The stake in the heart.
The stake in the heart. There you go.
My favorite bit was the brothel.
Of course,
I got you looking.
That was so graphic. I was shocked. Like, I could not believe it.
Well, I nearly put that image on the slides, and I thought, no.
You know what? I did a short review of the first 6 issues. It had to blank that bit out.
Yeah. Oh, you'd have
to. I mistakenly turned to that page. No, mine was definitely the end of issue 1. And then the soup reference when he's hungry. Yeah, they were two of my favorites. Fuzzy's just saying, glad you all enjoyed it. Don't think you convinced me to read it, but I might have a.
It's the best thing we've done, Fuzzy. Like, it's
it really is
one.
Fuzzy.
You have to read this one. Like, it's
You've
so
got to read
good.
this one.
Yeah.
You picked up Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion was shit compared to this. Like,
definitely
read this.
Dr. Von Hoot say Nick's Kicks and Comics bought a Killadelphia original cover by Scott Young, and he was stunning. I could well imagine it being stunning by Scott Young. 50 minutes too. No messing with you a lot. Fast and furious.
On the ball.
Don't-
On the ball,
Don't
Fuzzy.
mess about, Fuzzy. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, man.
We
We've
can
got
only
lives.
phrase we loved it in so many
Yeah,
different ways.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. And this comes to the score. The all-important score. Oh, it's going to... Sensei is saying it sounds interesting for sure. I know you're just getting into comic book, Sensei. This is one you should definitely pick up. Dr. Von Hussein, that's all I know about Killadelphia. Doc, go and pick it up, read it. Honestly, you won't
I think you
regret
like it. I think you like it.
Yeah,
Von
because
Hussein.
Horror.
yeah, it's horror.
Yeah.
You like your horror, DVH. So scores. Efren, I'm going to save you to the last because I think I know what yours will be. But James, what would you score it?
I'm trying to I can't really put my
Out of
finger on anything that I didn't like about it. Like, so I have to give it a 10. I think. Like, I don't think it's fair to just say like because of the handwriting bit, it's a 9 point whatever. Like, I think I can excuse that. Like, I absolutely adored this book. So yeah, I give one of the best things I've read in a very long time. So I'll give this a 10.
10. Pete.
Do I like it more than some of the other books? With like 10 is a very, very
Don't forget you give Punisher a 10.
yeah. But then we're going to be marking Crimson Cage in a week or two's time. So we need to be.
Need to think critically. Critic.
Say critically.
You
again,
know what I
please.
meant, James. Shut the fuck up.
Critically.
Critically.
What did we review last time?
What did we review last time?
Was it
Was that
Nocterra?
Secret Invasion? Secret Invasion, wasn't it?
No, Deceased.
Oh,
Deceased.
Deceased, yeah.
No, I wasn't even there, and I remembered,
I
guys.
gave Deceased in 9.5,
Good luck,
I think,
James.
did I? Do I like this better than
This
Deceased?
is better. This is better than Deceased. This is 100%.
Oh, you know? Have you read Deceased?
Yes. You didn't expect that, did you?
Oh, fuck off. It's a 10. It's a 10.
It's a 10.
Yeah.
Efren.
I don't think there's a perfect book. Okay, so I really enjoyed this book a lot, so I'm giving it a 9.9. You know,
That's
9.9.
That's just bitchy,
Good
yeah.
stuff, Efren.
Give it the 10. Come on, like it
Yeah,
deserves it.
9.9. No, that's fair. That is fair.
I mean, I really enjoyed it, but I just, a perfect book. Peter mentioned some things that I go, that's true. Like the writing, something. I don't like writing when it's small either. That bothers me. Like in a book, but oh my God, I'm going to give it a 10.
You're going to
10,
get
and 10 doesn't mean perfect. 10 means like exceptional. Like
I'll give it a 10. Change my mind.
There, top tier. Yeah. There we go.
Good, man.
Fuzzy's saying you keep picking books, you like that's the issue. You should put 20
not
books in a
wrong.
hat and draw. Look at I picked Nocterra, and I don't like that book.
Yeah. But I think the problem for me is that I have picked a lot of the books I knew I loved. Do you know what I mean? So maybe we do need to come up with a way of randomizing.
Pick something you haven't
sections.
like if I haven't picked anything yet, but I would pick something I've not read because this is a reason to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the whole point of the show, to get people to read the stuff.
Who's
Some
picking
stuff
stuff
you
they know
like,
they like
other
already,
people
like?
won't like. We just seem to agree. We've all got the same sort of taste. Books. But
So
we'll
that's
see
a
on the
10
next
then,
round.
Efren, yeah.
That's a
10
10.
from
Yeah,
Efren.
Efren's a 10.
I'm giving it a 9.
All right, that's good.
What
Just
a
on the-
bloody
What a prick you are.
No, I am.
you
because
miserable
I thought you said you had taste.
It's only because I nearly put the book down the first time I read it, when I got that diary bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only critique I can give it, really. I just didn't like that bit on my first read.
I think that's a very superficial reason
So-
to take an entire
Well,
point.
no,
off
because if
of it,
you're
but,
going in as a
that's what
first
you
time
wanna do.
reader, you might not like that.
No, I
I think that's fair.
I have to agree with you, JP. When Efren recommended the book to us,
Mhm.
I got to that kind of diary page and I thought, I don't know if I can crack on with this. But I knew Efren would beat the living crap out of us if I didn't keep reading it. So I kind of pushed through. And then I'm so pleased I did. But you're right. I think that if you're not into that style of writing, it can turn you off a little bit, I think.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
if that was throughout the entire book, it would have affected my score. Like, I
Yeah,
would have had
definitely,
a big
yeah.
issue with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it was
yeah.
only a little bit for a couple of pages. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
But yeah, for me, the art was on point. The story is absolutely brilliant once you get past that. Once I got past that bit, so that's why I give it a 9.
Now, Efren, sorry mate, Efren, that's a commission cover I'd like to get if you ever spotted that guy around.
Yeah,
imagine getting a blank cover of that. That would be
Jason
stunning.
Sean Alexander.
Yeah. That would be very cool.
That's a good point. Yeah. Just a little side note, also that we interviewed Rodney Barnes on my friend's channel, Ian Hoodrat. We interviewed him about a year ago. He got him and he said, "Yeah, I'll go on your channel." And we went on his channel and we interviewed him talking about this book. And he does movies too.
Yeah.
Movies and TVs. So he's a very
So
prolific writer.
So just don't ask about that Mandalorian adaptation.
He's a very humble person too. He didn't come from, so to speak, money. He just fought his way up. And talks about his life too. So if anybody wants to check it out, it's on Hoodrat's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He used to write "Everybody Hates Chris."
He did?
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Really?
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that show.
He did that. He's doing that series on the Los Angeles Lakers. That's on SHAWN, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Von Hoots just started reading Crimson Cage last night. Not a fan of some of the dialogue, but dug it by the end of issue 1. That's what's coming up next.
Yeah.
Fuzzy says, I still need to look for that DVH. So the total score was a 9.7 all round.
Very fair.
I don't know where that puts us on the table. Do we do a table, Pete?
I haven't done a table slide yet.
I've got it written down here. So
how's it at 9.7?
9.75, if you must know.
Yeah, would not just be better to put it out at 40? Oh no, it's different people.
No,
people every time. Yeah, okay.
Don't be coming on here and messing with the system, Keegan.
But we've got a new number 1.
That 0.5. Hey, there we go.
Yeah, it's not Punisher down to number 2.
No, I don't know about that.
Don't look happy about that, Peter.
I want to change Efren's score. No, to be fair, that's fair. This is a more. I love Punisher, but this is a more rounded, intelligent story. I think.
Definitely. You got your daughter in there, friend.
Yeah, I can see your comments.
go to our next comment. The next one. Did anyone else?
Do you know? I need to get that clip for every time Efren comes on, so I can just play it.
Efren will not know what we're talking about.
No.
Efren, that's from a TV comedy show.
Oh, okay.
That we watch.
Sensei is saying the Lakers series is interesting, but there are so many inaccuracies.
Oh, there is. That's a trippy show. Yeah, definitely.
Right. Yeah, definitely need to clip that one.
Yeah.
Pete, what have you got coming up on your channel?
Everything.
It's fully booked.
I've got a toy video coming out this week, but I couldn't tell you what it is because I can't remember. Thursday night, I'll be doing my 1/6 scale action figure show. I'm out on Friday night. I'm going to see Mission Impossible. So no show Friday night. Saturday, we'll have the usual Saturday night hangout, news and reviews and all that kind of jazz. Probably going to do my comic book review show on Sunday night at 8 o'clock. And then Monday night, I'm back for a This Is My with a guy called Rodney.
Monday?
Yeah, Monday. So he's doing the This Is My. He's an author. He's writing his own comic called Isolation. And then on Tuesday night, I'm doing another This Is My with John Lees, who's a writer of Sync and various other books. He's a superb guy. And then I'm over onto reviews with Rich's channel.
Which we're going to be reviewing.
Yeah. Oh, actually, that's a good point. Yeah.
We'll squeeze in our slideless show for Wednesday.
Squeeze in that, and we'll do a sliders show as well. And I'm reviewing Mission Impossible and reviews with Rich on Tuesday night as well. Busy
week.
What's going on?
Dr. Von Hoots is saying that he's going to try and get Crimson Cage read by next show to engage more. Really appreciate that, mate. It's going to be in 2 weeks' time. Obviously, because Pete's busy next Tuesday. Fuzzy's just saying, well done, fellas. Thanks very much, Fuzzy. James, anything coming up?
Yeah, my shorts kind of every day or so. I'll be doing my Mission Impossible one tomorrow when I've seen it. So I'll throw that in and have my kind of ranking the series one. And then I'm working on a Star Wars video at the moment, which I am keeping very close to the chest in case I cancel it. So
looking forward to it then.
Hopefully.
I'm posting shorts almost not every day, but every couple of days, just whatever, you know. I did 3 shorts on comic book cleaning and pressing. I clean and press my own books. Mostly modern books. You know, I do a little bit of Silver Age books, but if it's like a high price book, I don't clean and press my own book. I send it out to somebody else.
Yeah,
definitely not.
Clean and press your Last of Us book.
Yes, I did actually. I got it already.
That's a very high priced.
It is, but it was a newer book and it didn't have that many you know, deficiencies to it. So I'm gonna send it in to CGC when I'm at Comic-Con next week to get them graded. I didn't even know I had those books. You know, so.
This right? That is the most expensive book I own. Is Last of Us issue 1, and you're like, oh, I didn't even know I had this.
Tonight on my channel, I'm going to be going live, and it's only like about a 15-minute show. I basically talk about books that are coming out Wednesday for New Comic Book Day.
Yeah,
it's almost like a bookend. We didn't do this on purpose, but Peter talks about books that he read the New Comic Book Day on Friday. And this Friday also at night, I'm going to be going live on my channel talking about San Diego Comic-Con.
Brilliant.
But San Diego Comic-Con is coming up next week, and anybody wants to follow me on Instagram, I'm going to be going live a lot on San Diego Comic-Con. I'll be, you know, just walking up and down the aisles. And then I keep on saying this, Saturday on Peter's channel, I'm going to be going live on Comic-Con on his YouTube channel for a couple minutes. So,
yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. Dr. Von Hussein is Doug Bratton.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the fella around Von Hood. Yeah.
And Serena is now I know when to randomly come over to surprise my dad and crash get online with you guys. I'm gonna hopefully be getting some overviews done. So I'll be putting one of them out each week, and then that'll be made till a fortnight's time. Random shorts.
Good stuff.
And Pete's channel when I can make it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't see me on my channel, I'm always on Peter's channel. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been in the chat and everybody who watches on Rewind. Absolutely appreciate you all for checking this out. And till next time, we shall all see you later.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.